Bitcoin is right now in a very crucial situation. Either we go up here and retest the $79,000-$80,000 region, or we start going down here. I'm going to discuss this, discuss the liquidation, discuss what I think will happen next for Bitcoin. And first of all, let's start by saying happy Bitcoin Pizza Day, because 16 years ago, someone paid 10,000 Bitcoin, which is roughly $770 million right now, for 2 pizzas. I think they were the most expensive pizzas ever, and that was today. So let's go into Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin, first of all, we of course in our bear flag pattern, right? And we're in a negative, in a bear market right now, in a bear flag pattern, as we mention every time. And right now, looking here, we have strong resistance at the bottom levels. If I zoom in a bit, we can see that yesterday Bitcoin went up, and we seem not to be able to get above these levels, 78,200 approximately. So I want to be seeing Bitcoin, first of all, getting above 78,200 for us to be then continuing up and forming this exact pattern. The pattern is a head and shoulders pattern, which is a bearish pattern. We create a shoulder, we create a head and another shoulder, and they all trade along a trend line. And just to show you guys here quickly, this is the first shoulder. Then we formed the head. And if we go from here and bounce from exactly this level, approximately $79.5 thousand, and then go down, we will create this head and shoulders pattern, which is of course a bearish pattern. And I'm basically waiting right now for Bitcoin to break to the upside and then potentially grab this level of liquidity, where there's a lot of liquidity as well, go there to $79,000. If we continue and break up from here, I expect us to still reach these top levels, $82,000, $83,000, $84,000. But in my opinion, we can be going up. Keep in mind, of course, also Bitcoin has been rejected from the 200 simple weekly moving average. So the average price over the last 200 days, 200 daily moving average, sorry. And you can see we've been rejected right here. And every time in a bear market, historically, when we get rejected from this line, this is a strong point of rejection, whereby we continue the downtrend. Same in the last bear market. We got rejected, and this was the point where we found a local high and went, of course, to the downside. Also, keep in mind, Bitcoin always takes approximately, in a bear market, 365 days. So 365 days from top to bottom, 365 days. And if the same thing repeats this time and we get rejected right here, we continue down, we're going to find our bottom approximately in October of 2026. Just to be on the safe side, I know a lot of people are saying October, and because a lot of people are saying it, yes, it might happen, but many people will start buying before that, just to be on the safe side. And I think we should also be buying before October 1st, just because if everyone starts buying a month before that, of course, we'll find the bottom a month before that. So yes, a lot of people will be buying in October, but just to be safe, let's start buying Bitcoin a month before, maybe a month and a half, 2 months before that, and start dollar cost averaging. I think that's the best thing to do. And this just goes to show that we have the 4-year cycles. Look, these are the halving events, the orange lines. Every 4 years, Bitcoin has a halving event, which creates these 4-year cycles. And the proof that the cycles exist is exactly this. Look, it always takes 12 months from top to bottom. And from the bottom of the bear market to the top of the bull market, I've marked it here, it always takes approximately 1,065 days, approximately. And we can see it has happened the last 3 times. So if in October is the bottom, I expect us to then have a bull run for 1,065 days. Of course, not always going up during the bull run. Like you can see, last bull run, we had phases where we went down. I think this was like a 6-month phase where we just went down. You can see 180 days we went just down in the bull run. And same thing here. We usually have an exponential move up in the beginning of the bull run, okay? And then we go to the upside. So I expect the same thing to happen then. We'll probably have an exponential move at the beginning, then things calm down a bit, people have fear again, they FUD the markets, and then finally another push up to the top side, and eventually a top, and we go into the next bear market, right? And looking at Bitcoin here, we can just illustrating that we have strong resistance at about $79,000. This red line, it has acted as previous resistance. And if Bitcoin pushes up here, expect us to potentially get rejected from there. And then of course, create this head and shoulders pattern that I have just mentioned. And this is pretty much, like I said, what I expect to happen. We have strong support around $75,000, $76,000. And as long as this holds, we can probably go towards the $80,000 region. And the support that I've been talking about is, of course, this support right around here, right, which has been previous resistance and also support. And Bitcoin is in a rising wedge, and a rising wedge, it has broken out from it. It is a bearish pattern, and we can see a rising wedge. It's just a wedge like that, which goes to the top side, eventually breaks down. However, why am I showing you this chart? Because theoretically we're still in an uptrend, and we can see it's been an uptrend because we have created a higher low. So the low was here, the low that we are in right now is here. For us to be theoretically in a downtrend, we should be breaking below this level, below the previous low, and then creating a lower low which is below the previous low. And eventually I think we'll do that, but right now on paper we are still in a short-term uptrend, and I think we can go towards these levels here, 79, and then potentially $81,000, of course. And why do we say these levels? Well, let's look at the liquidation heat map. We have some liquidity below us, and these are the levels that Bitcoin usually goes towards, where there's most liquidity on the markets. And we have a lot of liquidity here all the way up to like $83,000, which makes me believe we can still go there. And like I said, I am very worried if it's not being hit, because it is a strong magnet. And 95% of the time, these gaps, these liquidations tend to be filled. The liquidations also tend to be filled quite frequently. And we can see right here, we have some liquidity now forming at around about $79,000. This was not there yesterday. And of course, that level is exactly the level that I've been mentioning. It's around about this level here, which has been previous resistance. But also look at the CME gaps. It is the last weekend's CME gap. And let's see, we're going to go into weekend now from tomorrow. I'm curious to see what Bitcoin will do. If we will create a CME gap below the current price, then potentially we'll start with the downtrend rather sooner than later. But we have a CME gap at $79,000, the price that we've been talking about. And of course, the big one at $84,000. So you know exactly that's what I think will happen. And here, just a broader perspective, Bitcoin, of course, following the 4-year cycles, is right now approaching the time when we form a bottom. And I've mentioned we probably form the bottom around October, 12 months into the bear market. And you can see, comparing to the last cycle, so these other lines are just the last Bitcoin cycles, we usually form the bottom in around about this area that we're entering right now, which is, in this case, around about 700 to 850 days after the halving. And in my opinion, we're going to do it in October. And then another news, Kevin Walsh is now officially Fed chairman. He has been, put into power today. That is interesting. And finally, happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. With that being said, see you guys tomorrow. Adios. Oh, and tomorrow I'm going on holiday, but I'm still going to be uploading videos, of course, so my background might be changing, just so you guys know. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Bye.